Hello, everyone! In today's video, we will explore the shocking story of Cesar Milan, the famous dog trainer, being sentenced to life in prison. Let's take a look at the emotional moments and the truth behind this sentence. Cesar Milan, the famous dog trainer, couldn't hold back his emotions and broke down in tears when sentenced to life in prison. In this video, we will learn about the shocking and emotional details of the trial, as well as the impact this ruling may have on him and those he has helped. If Cesar Milan's story has touched your heart, don't forget to share this video and leave your thoughts in the comments. Let's spread the message of fairness and continue supporting Cesar's efforts in changing the lives of dogs and their families. Cesar Milan, the famous dog behavior expert known to millions as the Dog Whisperer, broke down in tears after being sentenced to life in prison in a controversial trial that raised questions about whether justice was truly served. The man who rehabilitated countless dogs deemed impossible to train and saved families struggling with behavioral problems of their pets now faces spending the rest of his life in prison. Separated from the dogs he has dedicated his life to helping and from the millions of people whose lives he has touched through his compassionate work for over 2 decades. Milan invited us into homes across America, showing families on the brink of despair with their beloved pets that there was still hope. With patience, understanding, and the right guidance, even the most troubled dogs could be rehabilitated. His gentle treatment of animals, comforting smile, and firm belief in second chances made him a trusted companion for dog lovers everywhere. "My mother watched Cesar all the time," said Jennifer Anderson, 56, who attended the trial every day to support Milan. "When my mother had Alzheimer's, she forgot many things, but she always recognized Cesar when his show aired. His calm voice made her feel at ease, and watching him work with dogs gave her moments of clarity and joy during very dark times. It is heartbreaking to see him treated this way after all the good he has done." The case against Milan began nearly a year ago when federal authorities launched an investigation into his training facilities after anonymous complaints about his training methods. What started as a routine investigation quickly became a much larger case when investigators claimed to have uncovered financial misconduct related to Milan's international operations and charity funds. Prosecutors alleged that Milan had been involved in a complex scheme involving the illegal importation of wildlife for training demonstrations, tax evasion related to his international businesses, and abuse of charity funds designated for relief efforts. They painted a picture of a celebrity who exploited his fame to operate outside the law. The most serious accusation, which ultimately led to a life sentence, was related to claims that Milan's Dog Psychology Center inadvertently caused the deaths of several dogs who suffered severe injuries through training methods that prosecutors deemed inhumane and dangerous. Throughout the trial, Milan maintained his innocence, arguing that these deaths were due to pre-existing health conditions in the animals, which had already been severely injured. These dogs had been scheduled for euthanasia before his center agreed to take them in as a last resort case for rehabilitation. Dr. Maria Rodriguez, a veterinarian who worked with Milan's foundation, testified they had been severely abused, starved, used in dogfighting, and many had injuries and long-standing health issues that went untreated for years. Cesar was their last hope, and he took them in knowing the risks because he couldn't bear to see a dog abandoned without trying to help. One of the most touching testimonies in the trial, though largely ignored by mainstream media, was the extraordinary story of how Cesar Milan saved an entire family in a situation that began as a routine training session. Sarah Thompson, a 58-year-old elementary school teacher from Colorado, tearfully took the stand as she recalled the events of October 2018. A day that began with a final attempt to save her daughter's troubled Rottweiler mix and ended with Milan saving her entire family from an unimaginable tragedy. "We adopted Bear as a puppy for my daughter, Emma, who was struggling with depression after losing her husband in a car accident," Thompson explained, her voice almost a whisper. Bear became her emotional support, the reason she got up every morning. But as he grew older, he developed severe aggression towards strangers and other dogs. Our family consulted numerous trainers, veterinary behaviorists, and even considered using medication. But Bear's sudden aggression continued to escalate. After he attacked a delivery person, Animal Control issued a final warning. If we didn't handle this behavior, the dog would be euthanized. Emma was devastated, Thompson continued. She had lost her husband, and the thought of losing Bear was unbearable. In desperation, I wrote a letter to Cesar's show, not expecting a reply. When his team called and said he would take us on an upcoming episode, it felt like a miracle. Milan came to their home one fall morning. What the audience didn't see was his sharp observational skills going beyond just dog training. After working with Bear for about an hour, Milan suddenly became very quiet. He asked her daughter if she had been having headaches recently and if the house felt too hot. Emma answered yes. Everyone in the house had been getting headaches, but they thought it was just stress from Bear. Milan then realized that the cause was carbon monoxide in the house. He helped the family get out safely and called emergency services. Firefighters later discovered dangerously high levels of the toxic gas. Had it not been for Milan, the family could have been in serious danger. Cesar Milan has changed the lives of millions of dogs and families. Let's come together, support his appeal, and continue his mission. Share the story, spread love, and hope. Milan then asked if he could open the windows to let fresh air circulate in the house, and then quietly pulled Thompson aside. He told me he recognized the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. Our confused answers, the headaches, the flushed appearance of my grandchildren, Thompson explained, her voice choked with emotion. He said Bear's aggression had worsened recently, not because of behavioral problems, but because dogs are very sensitive to carbon monoxide, and Bear was trying to get the family out of the house while still maintaining the appearance of a normal training session. Milan quietly directed a team member to call emergency services. He then suggested that the whole family and Bear continue the training in the backyard to get everyone out safely. Within 20 minutes, the fire trucks arrived, and technicians found a serious issue with our heating system, causing carbon monoxide to leak throughout the house. Thompson said that later, the fire chief told us that the level of gas was life-threatening, and we probably wouldn't have survived the night if it hadn't been detected in time. When the defense attorney asked how she knew Milan had recognized the danger, Thompson's answer was clear. The emergency responders asked who recognized the symptoms, and Cesar simply said he had seen this situation before in another house with a dog suddenly becoming aggressive. He had followed up on our health and recovery for several months afterward, not concerning himself with Bear's training, but with our health. Bear, no longer affected by the toxic gas, showed a significant decrease in aggression under Milan's guidance. Any remaining issues were addressed through proper training. Today, Bear works as a therapy dog at the school where Thompson teaches, helping children with reading difficulties and emotional challenges. Cesar Milan didn't just save our dog that day. He saved my daughter, my grandchildren, and me, Thompson concluded, looking directly at the jury. The man you're considering sending to life in prison is the one who recognized a dangerous situation that many doctors overlooked during regular health checks. He acted quietly and calmly, without drawing attention or seeking recognition. That is the true measure of who Cesar Milan is. Perhaps the most powerful moment in the trial came from Gloria Sanchez, a 62-year-old kindergarten teacher and mother of 3, who claimed Milan saved her son's life. Her testimony brought many in the courtroom to tears, including Milan. "My son David was attacked by a neighbor's dog when he was just 4 years old," she explained, her voice trembling with emotion. "The injuries were so severe that they developed into a serious phobia of all dogs. He couldn't go to the park, visit friends with dogs, or even walk to school if there was a dog on the street. The phobia started affecting David's development, leading to social isolation and eventually severe anxiety and depression. By the time he reached his teenage years, traditional therapy had almost no effect, and our family was losing hope." "We were watching Cesar's show one night, and something about the way he gently interacted with fearful dogs caught David's attention," Sanchez continued. "For the first time, he showed interest in understanding dogs instead of just fearing them." They reached out to Cesar's center, not expecting to actually meet him. However, they were surprised when Milan personally responded and invited them to his farm. He spent the entire weekend working with David, slowly introducing him to calm, balanced dogs and teaching him how to understand dog behavior. "Cesar told my son something I'll never forget. He said, 'Fear is not respect, and respect is not fear. When you understand this difference, you will no longer be afraid,'" Sanchez recalled, wiping away tears. "He didn't take a single penny when we tried to pay him. He said seeing David overcome his fear was reward enough." Today, David Sanchez works as a veterinary technician and volunteers in animal therapy programs to help children overcome PTSD. He credits Milan not only for helping him overcome his fear, but also for helping him find his life's purpose. "That is the real Cesar Milan," Gloria Sanchez concluded, looking directly at the jury. "A man who changed my son's life forever, who spent countless hours helping a child he had never met. Because that's the kind of person he is. Someone who helps when he can, in any way he can. Please don't take him away from all the families who still need him." The influence of Cesar Milan goes far beyond dog training, as demonstrated by the testimony of Angela Martinez, a 54-year-old single mother, who described how Milan not only rehabilitated her family's aggressive German Shepherd, but ultimately saved her son from a destructive path. "My son Miguel, 16 years old when the problems began," Martinez explained to the silent courtroom. "His father had left us years ago, and Miguel was very angry with the world. He started skipping school and hanging out with friends connected to gangs. Our close relationship broke down into arguments and slammed doors. During this difficult time, our German Shepherd, Rex, started reflecting Miguel's aggressive behavior, becoming increasingly territorial and frightening to visitors. After Rex attacked a neighborhood child, the animal control gave us an ultimatum: handle the dog's behavior or surrender it to be put down." By a stroke of luck, they found out Milan was holding a weekend seminar in their city. Although they couldn't afford the ticket, Miguel stood outside the venue for hours hoping to see his new idol. "What happened next showed the true nature of the person you're considering sending to jail," Martinez told the jury, her voice resolute. "Cesar saw Miguel as he was leaving. Instead of just signing an autograph and walking away, he asked why Miguel wasn't inside. When my son explained our situation with Rex and admitted that we couldn't afford the seminar, Cesar did something extraordinary. Milan not only invited Miguel to join the seminar for free, but after hearing our entire story, he offered to visit our home later to work with Rex personally." "That Sunday afternoon changed everything," Martinez continued. Cesar spent hours with us, not just training Rex, but also talking to Miguel about discipline, how to adjust positive energy, and taking responsibility. I saw my son, an angry and withdrawn child, listen to every word from a man who had built a life from nothing, helping others. The most powerful moment came when Milan connected Miguel's behavior with Rex's aggression. "Your dog mirrors your energy," he told Miguel. "When you're angry, it feels the need to protect you. When you're calm, it relaxes." As Rex's behavior improved under Milan's guidance, Martinez noticed a shift in her son. Miguel started exercising with Rex on Milan's schedule, returned to school, and improved his grades, distancing himself from negative influences. Impressed by Miguel's progress, Milan offered him a summer job at his dog psychology center. After graduating, Miguel continued this work, and 10 years later, he ran a rehabilitation program for abandoned dogs, many of which worked with at-risk youth. Miguel's work impacted dozens of families in the community. Martinez said the ripple effect of the positive change is the true measure of Cesar Milan's influence. He didn't just rehabilitate dogs, he rehabilitated people, she said. Perhaps the most remarkable testimony came near the end of the trial when the defense called Martha Winters, a 72-year-old mother from rural Tennessee who traveled across the country despite health issues to share a previously untold story. "I live alone in a small house on 20 acres in the Smoky Mountains," she began. "After my husband passed away, my children wanted me to move to the city, but I couldn't leave our land. My only companions were my 3 rescue dogs, Bella, Max, and Cooper." In February 2019, Winters was watching a marathon of Cesar Milan's show during a snowstorm when the power went out. As night fell and the temperature dropped to dangerous levels, she realized her generator wasn't working. In the heavy snow, she saw a car skid off the road leading to her house. What Winters didn't know was that inside the car was none other than Cesar Milan, who had been on his way to a seminar in the area and had taken a wrong turn during the snowstorm. After struggling through the snow to help Winters, Milan realized signs of hypothermia starting to affect her, and immediately took control of the situation. With no electricity or communication, he made the critical decision to move them to the livestock shed where they could start a fire. What followed was what Winters describes as a masterclass in crisis management. Milan gathered supplies, created a shelter out of hay, and lit a fire. Despite the harsh conditions through the night, as the temperature dropped to dangerous levels, he maintained the fire and placed the dogs around Winters to provide warmth. "He talked to me all night," Winters recalled, wiping away tears. "He told me stories of his childhood in Mexico, of crossing the border with nothing, of his dreams and disappointments. I think he was trying to keep me awake to prevent me from sleeping because when you're hypothermic, sleeping can be very dangerous." When dawn broke, Milan went outside and after nearly 2 hours, found a place with phone signal to call for help. Emergency services arrived soon after, and medical staff immediately attended to Winters. The medical staff later told me that if it weren't for the warmth from the dogs and the small fire, I wouldn't have survived the night, she said. They said many younger, healthier people have died under less severe conditions, but Cesar refused any recognition. He just said he had learned survival skills as a child in Mexico and that the real heroes were the dogs. The thing that makes this story even more remarkable is that Milan never publicly mentioned this incident. It only became known when Winters' daughter recognized him in a news story about the trial and contacted his legal team. When they asked him about it, he couldn't even remember my name, Winters said with a slight smile. He just said, "The woman with the 3 beautiful dogs." That's the measure of a man. He didn't think what he did was extraordinary or deserved to be made public. He just did what needed to be done to save a stranger's life and her dog's. Although there were many heartfelt testimonies from dozens of similar witnesses, in the end, the jury found him guilty of the most serious charges. When Judge Raymond Morris sentenced him to life in prison, a collective sigh echoed in the courtroom. Milan, who had remained calm throughout most of the trial, finally broke down. Witnesses described how the normally composed dog behavior expert appeared physically slumped when hearing the judge's verdict. "I just wanted to help," Milan said through tears in his final statement. "Create balance, save the dogs that others had given up on. Teach people that with patience and proper leadership, relationships can be healed. If I failed or made mistakes in this process, I take responsibility for those specific actions, but my heart has always been in the right place." As security officers prepared to escort him out, Milan made an emotional plea directly to his supporters. "Take care of the dogs. Dogs in America are fed without having to work for food, so dogs will be praised with everything. Don't abandon the principles of calm, assertive energy. Balance is still the key for dogs and for life. This work must continue, even if I can't lead it anymore." Many in the courtroom, including some jurors, were in tears as Milan was led away. Outside the courthouse, hundreds of supporters gathered with their dogs, many holding signs reading, "Who will help the dogs that cannot help themselves?" and "Cesar saved my family." The sentence hit particularly hard for mothers and grandmothers who saw in Milan not just a dog trainer, but a source of wisdom on patience, consistency, and leadership, values that applied to their entire families. "Cesar didn't just teach me about dogs," explained Patricia Williams, 67, a grandmother of 5, who said Milan had transformed her rescue dog or response dog into a gentle companion. "He taught me how to set boundaries with love, how to stay calm in a crisis, about how energy affects everyone around you. I've applied his principles with my grandkids, and that has made me a better grandmother." Williams was one of thousands of supporters who wrote to Milan in prison and contributed to his legal defense fund for his appeal. "He brought hope to so many of us when we were ready to give up on our troubled dogs. We will not give up on him now," said Elizabeth Morgan, 59, who traveled from Seattle to attend the sentencing. Her service dog, a previously aggressive German Shepherd, had been rehabilitated using Milan's methods and stood calmly beside her during the emotionally charged trial. "Before Max came into my life, I had to stay home because of PTSD," Morgan said softly, stroking her dog's head. "He was slated for euthanasia due to his aggression, when a trainer using Cesar's methods gave him a final chance. Now, he alerts me before I'm hit with a panic attack, helps me navigate public spaces, and has brought life back to me." There are thousands of dogs like Max, and thousands of people like me, who owe their second chance to Cesar's work. While the life sentence was a shock, Milan's legal team remains cautiously optimistic about the appeal process. They pointed out several procedural issues in the trial that they believe will provide a strong basis to challenge both the conviction and the severity of the sentence. "A life sentence for non-violent offenses related to training methods is unprecedented and disproportionate," said lead attorney Rebecca Martinez. "We strongly believe in Mr. Milan's innocence, especially concerning the most serious charges, and we are confident the appellate court will recognize important legal issues in how this case was prosecuted." In a moving letter shared by his family, Milan expressed his gratitude to his supporters and commitment to continue his life's mission, even while in prison. "My body may be confined, but my spirit remains dedicated to creating balance and harmony between people and dogs. Every day I receive hundreds of letters describing lives changed and dogs saved thanks to the principles I've been fortunate enough to share. These stories fuel me. Please continue the mission of restoration and second chances. Our work is always not just about dog training, but about opening hearts, minds, and homes to animals who need us. That work must continue, whether or not I am there. For the millions of dog owners whose lives have changed because of Cesar Milan's compassionate methods, that work will continue. Cesar Milan is not just a dog trainer, but someone who has changed the lives of millions of families. Despite facing tremendous challenges, he remains resilient and continues to inspire. Let's support him for justice and for the dogs he's helped save. Thank you for listening and standing with us.